We have a special guest here in the studio. Ben Shapiro is the host of The Ben Shapiro Show and author of the new book, Lions and Scavengers, right there on the screen, and we will talk about that here in a minute. But first, Ben, it's good to have you. I want to start with what's happening right now in China. You got all the troublemakers together. You got Xi, you got Putin, Kim Jong-un, Iran's president, all there together. We've never seen something like that before. We've never seen Xi put something together like that before. At the same time, I feel like it's a response kind of to what Trump's been doing around the world, which is kind of this cut the BS campaign. He's basically saying to the rest of the world, you're going to treat us fair, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. He went after India the other day regarding how much oil they're buying from Russia, things like that. Do you think that that's kind of the retaliation for the way the president's running foreign policy here in this country?
I do think that that's what's going on. I think China sees an opening. I think what China believes is that they were being boxed out by President Trump, and now that President Trump is going after, say, South Korea or India or Japan with tariffs, that might be an opening for them to start making some hay with countries that were sort of in the middle, maybe even leaning toward America. And I think that's why you're seeing sort of the offensive charm campaign from both Xi and Putin toward, for example, Modi in India. I think that they're trying to reorient India away from the so-called Quad, which is the United States, Japan, Australia, and India. If they can pull India away, that would be a pretty strong geopolitical move.
And I've been a big fan of the foreign policy we've seen from this administration. I think it's been brilliant. I think that there were I think we get taken advantage of. I think we're like the rich guy that everybody just kind of abuses. That's kind of our position in the world, has been for a long time. But it is interesting that, if that level of foreign policy kind of pushes all of that part of the world closer together, does that become a liability?
I mean, I do think that this is the difference between President Trump's foreign policy and then his tariff policy. And sometimes these two are in opposition. So the president has been very smart, for example, about going after Modi and cultivating Modi. I mean, they have a very good and warm relationship.
They're friends.
Until this gigantic tariff fight that he has now entered into, going after India for consuming Russian oil. That sort of move does have the unintended downstream effect of pushing India toward China, toward Russia, which is not exactly what you're looking for. Again, I think the president is going to end up in the right place, because I trust that the president, he's heterodox in his approach, but he's also responsive to world events. He doesn't continue to put his hand in the fire if it burns. And so I think that if it turns out that an anti-American power bloc is consolidating, I think the president shifts course.
And maybe they pull India back, and they're cutting deals. I'm sure they're all talking right now. I want to get to some other topics here. I thought it was so interesting this week when last week when the president disappeared for a few days, the media that told us all along Joe Biden was just fine explodes with he's dead or he's severely injured. All the theories are everywhere. They're all over MSNBC. He returns now on Monday and just blows the room up again, takes a million questions. He's correcting reporters. Everything seems to be fine. The hypocrisy of that, to me, was just unbelievable.
Well,
go ahead. Yeah,
I think that they just have to keep retailing successful Republican talking points, but in reverse. So it was a reality that Joe Biden was not an alive person for the last couple of years of his administration. And they kept claiming that he was, and we were all lying about it, and our eyes were lying to us and all of this. And now they're trying to take that and just sort of flip it on its head and say, well, actually, the person who's really not alive is Donald Trump. But of course, Donald Trump is the most ubiquitous president in American history. I mean, he's everywhere all the time. So if he goes missing for about 11 minutes, they assume he's dead because he's
not talking.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what's happening? What's happened? But he's very much obviously alive and kicking. It also shows the unbelievable wish casting of some of these folks, like Tim Walz, actually making jokes about his hopes at some point that the president is going to die. I mean, like that guy was almost vice president of the United States and is the current governor of Minnesota, and he literally made a joke about that one day ago.
And then, I mean, we saw Colbert, the audience, groaning when Colbert says that the president's still alive. I mean, what they've created is just so ugly. The new book you got, and we can put it up here on the screen. I can show it right here with my hand. You talk about Western civilization. It's being picked apart by scavengers, which is something we've talked about on this show a lot too. We have Zohran Mamdani here in New York, who's an inch away from becoming the next mayor of this city. I even read today that the White House was considering offering things to Curtis Sliwa and Eric Adams to drop out because there's a new poll that shows Cuomo would beat Mamdani in a one-on-one race. Is that an example of the kind of things you talk about in here and just what's happening to our great society?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, basically what I'm contrasting are people who wish to build, who wish to increase social fabric, who wish to be productive and innovative and risk-seeking and make the country a better place, and people who see every one of their individual grievances as a responsibility of all those systems and then seek to tear it down. Many of those people are the most privileged members of our society. Mamdani is like apex predator here. I mean, he really is a scavenger in every manifestation. He despises America on the foreign policy front. He believes that private property and free markets are inherently evil. He's somebody who wants to trans the children in New York. There really isn't an institution that he isn't seeking to absolutely eviscerate. And he's doing so from the perch of somebody who has never held a real job, who's been rich basically his entire life and has been privileged in every way it's possible to be privileged. And then he wants to rip down all those systems. He's prototypical scavenger.
It's so true, and we said the same thing the other day. Looking at all of these judges, we have these Obama and Biden judges that they all have obvious loyalties. We had one named Sparkle the other day from Trinidad and Tobago. She has obvious loyalties outside of this country, and they create these rulings, and you can just tell they just see this as just a wealthy land that should be pillaged by the rest of the world. That's how they feel about the United States, because I don't think they have America's best interest at heart.
I mean, they're definitely like that a cadre of the left that very much is. Now, I don't want to say that every Democrat is like this, because I don't believe that every Democrat fully wants to tear down America in every possible way. But I do think that the bleeding edge of the Democratic Party believes that America is at its root sinful and evil and responsible for all the cruelties and malice in the world, and therefore we have to take all those institutions and level them.
Lions and scavengers. Ben Shapiro, thanks for coming in. We appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
Good to see you. All right. You know, everybody's reporting the same stories, the same spin. You turn the channel, it's always the same. But not us. We're different. We report the real news. No spin, just the facts. Turn to us, and you won't turn back.
Tune in to Rob Schmitt Tonight on Newsmax.